Some days appear unremarkable, the kind that leave no mark on memory, until suddenly they shift everything and nothing ever looks the same again. Those moments rarely announce themselves with grand gestures or dramatic signs. Instead, they arrive softly, hiding behind an ordinary afternoon, carrying words that hold the power to either mend a wounded heart or break it beyond repair. I had imagined that conversation more times than I could count, yet when the moment arrived and I stood before her beneath the warm glow of the afternoon sun, the pounding of my heart drowned out every carefully prepared sentence I had stored in my mind. I was absolutely certain that I was about to lose the one person who had become my entire world. But I was completely unprepared for the words she spoke through her tears, a quiet whisper that asked, "Why didn't you say sooner?" Before we go any further, if you truly believe that kindness, patience, and the willingness to offer second chances have the power to transform lives, please take a moment to like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, pass this story along to someone you truly care about, and make sure to subscribe to the channel for more deeply emotional narratives that linger in your heart long after the screen goes dark. The afternoon sunlight poured through the large windows of the cabin by the lake, where all our friends had gathered to celebrate a relaxing weekend away from routine. Everyone was laughing, flipping burgers on the grill, and snapping photos while gentle breezes carried the scent of pine through the warm summer air. Yet despite the joyful noise surrounding me, my mind remained trapped in a prison of unspoken feelings that had accumulated over years of silence. My name is Rowan, and for nearly 4 years I had loved Mara from a place of secret devotion. She possessed a rare beauty, yes, but more than that, she had an extraordinary gift for making every single person in her presence feel genuinely valued and important. She never forgot a birthday. She encouraged complete strangers without expecting anything back. She helped elderly neighbors with their groceries and errands, and she possessed this remarkable ability to make even the heaviest days feel lighter through nothing more than her bright and reassuring smile. We had grown close almost without intending to, after we found ourselves working together at a local community center where our shifts often overlapped. Afternoons melted into evenings filled with easy conversation about everything from childhood memories and favorite novels to dreams we had tucked away, and endless cups of coffee shared across a small table. With each passing day, it became more and more impossible to ignore what my heart had known from the very beginning. But fear is an incredibly powerful force. Every time I gathered the courage to confess my feelings, a quiet voice would warn me that risking our friendship would be far more painful than carrying my secret alone. So I convinced myself that remaining quiet was the safer path. Months stretched into years, and during all that time, I watched opportunities drift past like leaves carried away by a river. Our friends constantly assumed we were already a couple because we understood each other so naturally and completely. We laughed at jokes before they were even finished. We noticed immediately when something was troubling the other, and we always seemed to end up sitting side by side without any conscious effort. People would smile knowingly whenever they saw us together, and I would force myself to laugh along while pretending that what existed between us was nothing more than comfortable friendship. Then everything shifted one sunny Tuesday afternoon when Mara casually told me she had accepted a job in a different city. It was a wonderful opportunity, something she had worked toward and dreamed about for years, and naturally everyone offered their congratulations. I smiled along with the rest, but inside I felt my entire world crumble into pieces. She would be leaving in only 3 short weeks. Suddenly all the excuses I had leaned on disappeared completely. I had a choice: speak my truth now or carry that regret for the rest of my life. Those 3 weeks became the longest, most agonizing days I have ever experienced. Every morning I made a promise to myself that today would finally be the day. Every evening I returned home full of disappointment at my own hesitation. I rehearsed speeches while driving, while standing in the shower, while lying awake staring at the ceiling in the late hours of the night. None of them ever felt quite good enough to say out loud. The day before she was scheduled to leave, our friends organized one final afternoon gathering at that same cabin beside the lake. The weather was brilliantly bright. Children played and laughed nearby. Birds sang their melodies through the branches overhead, and everything around me seemed painfully, achingly beautiful. I knew that life would not offer me a more perfect opportunity than this. As the afternoon slowly began to fade, Mara broke away from the group and walked toward the wooden dock that stretched out over the shimmering water. My legs felt impossibly heavy, as if they were filled with lead, yet somehow I found the strength to follow her. Every heartbeat thundered in my chest, almost as if it were trying to hold me back from speaking. She turned and smiled warmly as I approached, and we stood together in silence for a few long moments, watching gentle ripples spread across the surface of the lake. I could barely draw a breath. My hands were trembling so badly that I shoved them deep into my pockets to hide the shaking. For years I had pictured this exact conversation ending in heartbreak. I had imagined awkward silence, polite and gentle rejection, maybe even the end of our friendship altogether. But I knew deep down that regret would wound me far more than any rejection ever could. I took the deepest breath of my entire life, and finally confessed everything I had buried for so long. I told her that somewhere between all those coffee conversations, our volunteer work together, and the countless shared sunsets, she had quietly become the most important person in my life. I admitted that every goodbye had grown harder because all I wanted was for every single meeting to last forever. I confessed that I had loved her for years but had been absolutely terrified of losing her. She stared at me without saying a single word. For one unbearable moment I was convinced I had just made the biggest mistake of my existence. Then I saw tears welling up in her eyes. A small, beautiful smile spread across her face, and she softly asked the question that completely changed my world. "Why didn't you say sooner?" In that instant, everything seemed to stop. She confessed that she had been waiting almost as long as I had been holding back. She believed that I saw her only as a close friend, because I had never dared to cross that invisible boundary between us. She had nearly revealed her own feelings on several occasions, but had held back out of fear of making things uncomfortable between us. Eventually, convinced that I would never feel the same way, she had accepted the job offer, hoping that distance would help her move forward and leave her feelings behind. Years of silence had nearly robbed us of the happiness we both secretly desired. Neither of us could stop laughing through our tears as we realized just how fear had kept two hearts that loved each other from finding their way to one another. The answer we had both been searching for had been there between us all along, hidden beneath layers of hesitation and doubt. Life did not instantly become perfect after that afternoon. A long-distance relationship required sacrifice, patience, and countless late-night phone calls to bridge the miles. There were lonely weekends, missed celebrations, and difficult months filled with uncertainty. But this time we faced every challenge together instead of enduring them alone. Distance no longer separated us emotionally, because honesty had finally taken the place of fear. Almost a year later, Mara returned home for good after receiving an even better job offer much closer by. This time, when she stepped off the train beneath another bright afternoon sky, I was no longer afraid. I ran toward her, wrapped my arms around the woman I had nearly lost because of my silence, and I understood that courage does not always remove fear entirely. It simply teaches us that love is always worth facing that fear for. Maybe someone watching this story today is carrying feelings they have hidden away for months, or even years. Maybe you are waiting for the perfect moment that never quite seems to arrive. The truth is that perfect moments almost never exist. Sometimes the greatest risk of all is saying nothing. If this story has touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video. Share it with someone who might need a little courage today. Leave a comment telling us where you are watching from, and subscribe to the channel for more emotional stories that carry hope and the beauty of second chances. I have a special request before this story ends. Please take a moment to comment with these 4 words: never wait too long. Your simple message might encourage someone else to finally speak from their heart. As we walked hand in hand beside that same lake where everything had transformed, I realized that love is not always about finding the perfect person. Sometimes it is about finding the courage to finally tell that person how you truly feel before time quietly slips away from you. And on that warm afternoon, beneath a sky filled with golden light and hope, two people discovered that the happiest endings often begin with the words they were most terrified to say out loud.